let's check this, and let's check that, then let's check that. Okay, so the image from DCS works, the controls image works. All right, so since today is Phantom Day, I just got done patching the game and then installing the F4 itself. We're gonna have to set up the controls so that we can actually fly this plane, and wanted to share with you what my controls look like so that you know the setup I have. So I've got a set of rudder pedals. These are the MFG crosswinds, and I've got the wing set up that you can see in the picture there. So the throttle is the FA18 throttle, and the joystick, it's the F16EX. EX I think is for this part here that's added with the extra hat switch, and it's got a rumble shaker thing in it too. So that's my joystick and throttle. Those are my pedals. So you may have something different when you're gonna set up yours, but when I'm talking about rudders and these pedals, you have like an axis so that you can brake. You also have the axis to go left and right, and I've got a bunch of hat switches on there. We're probably going to set up like up here, that switch usually is for my gear. I've got one here for the flaps. I usually use this for my zoom, and this here for my air brakes. So things like that we're gonna set up because you need that to have like basic flight controls. So let's go to DCS, and when you're in the main menu here, you can go to the cogwheel there to controls, and then you go look at the plane you want, in this case the F4. Now you see here you have F-4E and F-4E Wizzo. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Wizzo, just because very often they program like axes for planes in the back seat, and I see here they haven't done that, so that's something that is actually I'm happy about, because sometimes these axes will interfere with some of the controls that I want to have. So the one that I will set up for the Wizzo seat is the zoom view, because the track IR already seems to be set up. So I'm gonna go with my zoom view, and I want the throttle, this here, there we go, that slider. And now I'm gonna go set everything else up for just the F-4E. I'm probably gonna spend most of my time in the front seat. And so again, since we were on the zoom, I guess we could go to our zoom and set up something there. Now we're gonna go with pitch and roll. So now we go to the joystick. So pitch up and down should be this, joystick Y, and then roll. It's probably going to be X. There we go. So we set these up. Now, since this is a twin engine plane, we're going to set the throttle left and right like this. So we have to go to the throttle. Start with left. This will be my throttle axis, and this will be the one to the right. That's usually quite important. And then we want our rudders, so we'll go to the crosswind. And so we'll go with the rudder axis right there that I have on the pedals. So we can test this, we can test left, right, up, down, and then we can check our throttle. Seems to go pretty well. for the wheel brakes, yes. Okay, so since I was on the pedals, wheel brake left will be that axis. Wheel brake right will be that axis. Usually one of the first things I have to check when I taxi is if we'll have to invert it, because often in DCS it's happened that I have to invert it, because if I press the brakes then the plane rolls, and if I depress like if I remove the pressure on them then it brakes. So you have to invert the axis. You do that, by the way, by going into axis tune. You can just click the box here. So since we don't know, we'll go check first and then we'll see after we've taxied a little bit. So TDC is usually something quite useful to have. So am I on the throttle? Yes. Doesn't seem to allow me to select it, so maybe it's by default or weapon slew. I don't know. I'll have to check that. Alright, so I'm trying to see if there's anything else in terms of the axes that I need to set. I think that should be pretty good here. So I usually like to click OK because it saves when you click OK, and then you can go back and do whatever other changes you need. So let's see if I do that. There's no default. Yeah. Another thing I like to do is check in the whole list, is there anything default? There are some default things for the up, down, left, right, and I usually take those away because it's on my hat switch that I use for trim, and because I have a track IR, I don't want those, but I would suggest you leave those if you have no track IR and you want to use that switch. That is, it seems to be the only control I see there done by default, and it's often the case in most modules in DCS. Let's see how we're going here. It seems to be running fine. Okay, keep doing this. So now I want the speed brakes. If I just click brake, speed brake, okay, so there, speed brake. Okay, they have a lot of controls for it. There's an in, there's an out, there's a stop, speed brake both. Okay. Okay, I think I get it. So on my stick, I do have like one of those speed brakes that you can hold the key in. So I'm going to use that one. And then if you wanted to stop, or if you wanted to go in, you push forward. I think that should work. So I'm going to explain my switch here. If I push it forward, it brings it in. If it's in the middle, I guess it stops the speed brake where it is. And if I pull it towards me, I have to hold it. It's going to bring it out. And so as soon as I release it, it goes back to that position. We'll try that. It's not an exact science, I guess. Landing gear usually is a little bit easier, so down and up. So I'll go with this on the throttle again. That's up and down like this. Drag chute. What do I want to use for my drag chute? Yeah, I think I'll go with that key P there. I'm gonna try this button for now, but we'll see. Then if I go to my flaps, so I think I read about that, so that's not it. So yeah, the slats, I don't know if they're automatic or not on this plane. Step down, step up. That's usually like the easy way to set flaps, right? So if I want to go up, I'll put the switch up. And if I want to move down, I'll go with that switch down. Then, since I'm with those switches, I have a parking brake switch. Is there a parking brake? I don't know that there's a parking brake in the F4. I know there's a hook. I have a switch for a hook. Let's say that will be out and that will be in. I think in the version that we have, it's mostly like something to maneuver the airplane. I don't know. Okay. So in terms of my switches here, if I go back to brake, emergency wheel brake, and there doesn't seem to be a parking brake like that you can set, so I won't need that button. One of the things I like to play with is the HUD brightness and things like that. Okay, so reticle brightness, increase, decrease. This is the knob that I use for that. Decrease, reticle depression. I guess I could go decrease with that, increase with that. And then there's a clockwise and counterclockwise, so clockwise, counterclockwise. So I'll probably end up doing those just by clicking in the cockpit for those different modes. because it's more visual, but it's good to have that. Then if I have like flare and chaff or something, okay, so joystick, go with that. And then if I go chaff, is there a chaff dispense? If I go back to flare, there was like a dispense program, which was a two-way thing. I don't know if it includes the chaff or not, so that's not vital. Let's go with trim. Trim is usually quite important, so trim nose up. Yeah, trim nose up with that. Trim nose down with that. Left wing down with that. Right wing down with that. Let's click OK because we want to save these things once in a while. Okay, if I go like search, I figured there wouldn't be a waypoint selector, but I have a button sometimes I use for that. Is there a nose wheel steering? Nose gear steering. I guess it's N. Yeah, would make sense. So on the joystick, I'll put it there. But I will also put it cancel on the throttle on that button, because it's something I do often. And I think like with these buttons I should have pretty much enough. Now let's see for the, let's say gun. If I say gun, is there a trigger there? Or trigger. Okay, that seems to be trigger. There. Okay, they have a two-stage trigger. Oh, it's for the whistle. Not important. So I'll just put the 2 stages for that trigger for the weapons. And then for the bombs, I think there's like a bomb button, yeah. So we'll hit that. I don't plan on releasing many bombs on my first flight, but you never know. Okay, so with this we should have enough control over the plane. Again, we're just going to be testing things. So I'm going to go in the editor, open up a mission that I had with the F5, and we're just going to possibly use that one as a nav challenge, but for the F4. Might have to do quite a few tests just taxiing the plane on the tarmac before taking off, but it's going to be on the beautiful Kola map here at Bodo. So here we had an F5, but I'm just going to add an F4. So USA. Where's the F4? F-4E there. So I guess we'll call it Ford 41. It's going to be my name for that. You get to see in the editor what I would do when I create missions as well. I like to have my tail number 32. And since I'm going to start on the taxiway hot, I can do that. And then you can position the nose, you know, where it sort of makes sense. Whoops. Didn't want to put a waypoint there. I just wanted to move it. So you try to position the nose so that it's on the taxiway. And of course we're going to set up a skin. So here I thought that maybe for my first flight I would go like one of those maybe European one types of things. Let's see what we got. We got those. Euro 1. That makes sense. There we go. That's pretty cool. And just to see, is it gonna give me my number? That's something I wasn't sure, because some planes you get to change your number, some planes you don't. So it's got 32.8. If I put, let's say 35, is it gonna change to 35? No. Okay, so there's a 32 in there. I'm happy with that. But yeah, I wanted to have that skin for my first flight, especially since it's on the Cola map. It was going to look like how they painted in the late 80s. And so let's see how we can arm this up. Can put some 9M. There we go. And usually those, they had like the big Sergeant Fletcher tanks on the tips. That looks alright. And maybe give it some sparrows in front. I don't know which one gives us the sparrow in front. Is it those two? No, that's for bombs. Which version of the sparrow did I put? M and M, that's good. Okay, so we'll put two sparrows out front just to have like something that looks like a combat load, but I'm not going to do any combat here. We're just going to fly around. That seems pretty good. And it allows us to see that the model looks really, really nice. Good. Not gonna go look further in the other options. I think that's nice. That should be like a 0, of course. Okay, good. So as you can see, there are no waypoints there, but I did put some navigation information in the briefing. I will just say save as and add F-4E to the name of the mission. And so let's go look at what we have here for our first flight. So it says once airborne from Bodo, fly from TACAN 45X straight south at 173 degrees for 22 miles. So TACAN will tell you the distance. Identify the object you find there, then switch to TACAN 66X, and then east at 090 from that object to a distance of 26 miles. If you spot a mountaintop building, you should spot it between 15 and 20 miles, flying at 9,000 feet. Tell me what it looks like, and then once it's identified, come back to Bodo at TACAN 45X. So I'm just gonna write my numbers down so that I have my info. So I start with 45X. My heading will be 173, and then I will go to 66X with 090. Cool. Let's load this. So we'll take the F-4. Set myself up on the pedals and everything, and then center that. Alright, so we're in Cockpit. I'm going to zoom out, look around. Good, let's look on the outside. Okay, let's look at our control surfaces. So that looks like it's working for left and right, for up and down. We've got the elevator in the back. Looks like it's working. Now I set up this key for the flaps. If I do that, are they gonna go up? That was one of those keys I wasn't too sure of. And of course the gear I can't test on the ground. If I click my nose wheel steering button, do I have to move to be able to turn the wheel, or do I have to hold it? Okay, I have to hold it. It's like the F5. Okay. So those are important things to know. Now let's see if I can get the brakes to work if I give it a bit of gas. You see, maybe I have a parking brake set in the cockpit. Or is it because... Yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to invert my pedals. That's something I had mentioned earlier. So we're gonna go to Access Commands. And for the wheel brake, left, Axis Tune, Invert. Axis Tune, Invert. So now if I go back and give it a little bit of throttle.
Let's do it. They'll never see us coming.
And then I push forward. Now that brakes. And Jester's having a little bit of fun talking to me. Speaking of Jester, I didn't set Jester. Did I set anything for that button? No. I think. Okay, so that's Axis Command, but I want all but Axis Command. Let's go to Jester. Jester. Okay, lots of. So I think I'll go with this on the throttle. So this is my Jester key that I used for the F-14. And let's say you want to bomb. I heard the context action is quite important, so I'll put it there, which is easily accessible. Good. All right. So that is set up. So if I go back to my cockpit and I say, hey Jester, and then I can do my different Jester commands. Seems to be working. I don't need Jester for now. Okay, now I learned a little bit about this, and now we're on the correct channel already, so that's good. I guess it knows where we are in terms of the airfield. Now if I remove the stick there, I can set this to TACAN. This here. Now if we look at the F10 thing, we have our TACAN. I think it's around here somewhere. Okay, we don't see it on this version of the map. Oh yeah, it's there. Okay. So we're going to be heading 173, so it's almost straight south from there. So what I'll do in the cockpit is I will set the course . 173. There we go. Since I'm like that, it would make sense that it's going in that direction. Yes. Alright. And that's for the course, I guess, but the course is going to be the same, so 173, somewhere over there. Good. Now, I think I've seen in some videos when they want to turn on the reticle, they go with these things. Oh, there we go. So those are the modes. Say standby, cage, okay. And then we can set the brightness. That, and that's the mills. We don't need to play with the mills for now. Okay, so just brightness, something like this is good. Alright, Jester, I think we're good to go fly for our first flight. So I still haven't figured out how to get the flaps in though, so let's try something. And the adjust controls. We have step up, step down. Usually you find close to the throttle something for the flaps. Kind of hard to see down there, but when I do this, okay, it does bring this like that. Okay, so I'll leave it down. Okay, and that's the emergency one, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So I think my switch should be okay. So let's zoom out and taxi. Oh yeah, and I have to hold down my nose wheel steering button if I want to be turning. So those that have flown the F5 probably know about this. Oh, and we hear the brakes squeak, just like my race car.
Alright, tell me, just how low are we going today?
Sorry, Jester, I wanted to tell you that we are not gonna fly too low today, but I'm trying to concentrate on my taxiing. I haven't checked for any autopilot keys or things. Well, I guess I have my answer there. If I look at those things here, yeah, so that's autopilot engage, I guess. And then altitude hold. So I could probably put those adjust controls, AFCS, engage, disengage, and then alt hold, engage, disengage. That way, if we just want to fly straight and steady without having to worry too much about the stick and we want to navigate, we'll be able to do so. So let's just try the thing. Yeah, of course that'll turn on and off because the autopilot's not on. Alright, so we're ready for flying. So this is the plane. This is the place. This is happening.
Engine's good. Airspeed's coming alive. 80 knots. 400 knots.
Coming up.
Gears moving.
Gears coming up. Oh, the flaps are coming
Gear up.
On their own, so I guess that answers the question. But I'm still gonna put the switch in the up position, and we're airborne. Let's get off the afterburners. So you can see our speed indicator here. We're below 400 knots. Gonna make a left turn here, and then we're gonna go try to intercept the course that I had set for the TACAN. So I know it's in the middle of the airfield, so that's why I'm just continuing my turn. I know I'm gonna pretty much get where I need to go. Let's see if we're intercepting this. Yeah, we are. Went a little bit to the right of it, which is okay. Okay, so we're flying and navigating. I'm gonna leave my pedal centered so I can concentrate on just flying with the stick, but I know this plane sometimes requires you to use the pedals. Okay, so since we have our TACAN, we have a distance, and we're supposed to fly about 20 miles, I think, 22 miles for the first object we're to identify. So, what's our altitude? We're at 9.3. Get below the clouds. I'm almost glad I flew a little bit with the F-14 yesterday because this is fairly similar. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Gonna have to pause this. Alright, so those are the joys of doing something live. I was talking about my race car earlier and just got a call from the garage. I have an appointment tomorrow morning. They wanted to verify that with me. So now let's get back in the pilot seats. Get the track IR resets. Unpause. Check our distance, 12 miles. We've got about 10 miles to go to be where we want to be. Let's try that autopilot thing. If I try putting myself on course. And putting the altitude hold. If I let go of the stick, is it gonna hold the altitude? It seems to be going up and down like a plane on an autopilot. Okay, that's pretty good. That allows us to look on the outside. See what the plane looks like. I'm a little slow. Give it a bit of power. And I think, yeah, this right here is the object that we had to identify. It's that tower there. And on that tower, there is another TACAN. So we'll be able to switch to the new TACAN, which is 66. And the new heading will be 090. Try to do the same thing for the course. Oops. That sometimes happens when I'm turning the knobs too quick. There we go. So since my antenna now is going to be behind me, I'm going to disengage the autopilot, turn around, try to go intercept that course. Trying to see which hilltop it was that we had the TACAN on. Guess it must be this one. Whoops. The track IR is acting a bit special today. Okay, so I'm just passing it. There it is. Okay. So from here, I have to head straight east. And apparently if I fly around 9,000 feet, should be able to spot the next object I'm looking for. Here we have some clouds. So we're intercepting our proper course now, and we'll turn left. And now we can set the autopilot. So we're 8,800. Typical black smoke coming out of the rear of the Phantom. That'll make a nice screenshot. Let's see a distance. We're at 19, so we must be very close to what we're looking for, and look at that. I just spotted it out the window. So let's disengage the autopilot and go have a look. They want us to do a recon of that structure on the mountaintop. We have to be able to describe it to the people on the ground. So I see a big antenna, what looks like a giant hangar, some smaller structures and possibly vehicles. Yes, tents and trucks. Looks like a giant TV station. Alright, that looks cool. Let's head northwest here, roughly. I'm gonna set the autopilot again because I want to go change my TACAN to 45 again. Go. Oh, I think my fuel tanks might be empty. That's something I'll have to learn how to work with. If I do that, I guess we're now flying on the internal tanks. I've watched a video about it, but not 100% sure. So we'll see if we run out of fuel. Okay, so now I want to see, okay, this arrow points probably towards the airfield, so we're going to see if it brings us there. If I look out the window, that looks like Bodo over there. So yeah, that could make sense. So we'll head straight for the airfield, and then we'll try to do a landing, I guess. Try to see if we can fly fast. Okay, let's keep it under Mach 1. Let's have fun in the mountains. Say hello to the Norwegian villagers around here. Those are RPMs there. Okay, good. Getting familiarized with the cockpit. It's one thing to see it in a manual, but it's also nice to actually see it visually and as you're flying. So I'm going to try just putting the altitude hold here. Is it working? Let's trim the plane first. There we go. So that seems like it's working. Wanted to test my speed brakes. Yeah, we see them coming out, and if I release they come back in. Okay, so that's good. Let's bring the flight information back. Yeah, you see it braking, and then it comes in. The slats are coming out. What if I bring my flap controls down? Does that do anything? Maybe I'm too fast. Now the flaps are coming down. And if I bring my gears down, pretty cool animation for that. Okay, I don't need to go in burners, I just wanted to
Alright, gear, flaps, pressure, warning lights, and annex gear.
Forward, 1, inbound.
Okay, so I haven't really studied all the proper speeds and everything for the landing, so wish me luck. Put feet on the pedals. We're gonna hope for the best. We're a bit fast and high. Let's bring those
1,000.
speed brakes. Speed brakes, they brake real quick.
$500. 300.
I should have set my controls for the seat height. Now I'd want to be a little bit higher like that, so I have to do it like just by lifting my butt off the ground. Touchdown.
Gee, man, I always wanted to be a few inches shorter.
Guess the Air Force doesn't like it when we land like an aviator from the Navy. Hey, it's still in one piece. I guess we'll go take taxiway Foxtrot over there and we'll go find a parking spot. Maybe in front of those big hangars there. We'll see if I'll be able to turn it around, maybe with some differential braking. Yeah, it seems to want to turn pretty quickly. Seems pretty good. It can back us out back in there afterwards. So let's see with the radio commands. Can I ask the ground crew to put wheel chocks on this? Crew chief menu. Wheel chocks. And let's do it from there. This.
No can do, sir.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Why not?
No can do, boss. Can do that. Yeah, can do that.
I don't know if I have to open up the canopy. Maybe that's it. What I heard, very often they taxied with these things open. So if I go back to these menus, it's just do it from here.
Roger. Wheel chocks in.
Okay, we've got our wheel chocks. I can release the brakes. Alright, so successful flight. The TACAN system works. I'll have to learn how to use the nav computer properly, and probably following waypoints with that would be a bit easier. But I've been able to take off, come back, land. So I guess that's a successful first flight. I hope you enjoyed.